Welcome to the Protagonist Pub. My name is Tammy, and this is where characters gather. It is time for a completely unrealistic pile of possibilities for the month of February 2026. And I say that because, well, as long as this list is, it is vastly pared down from what it started as. That is the curse and the joy of being a 100% mood reader. You never know what's going to catch your interest. And so, let's talk about the books I've recently just talked about in my January wrap-up, which you probably haven't seen yet. I'm not going to talk about these in any great detail, these two in particular. Actually, these three, because they are in the January wrap-up, which is probably coming out immediately following this video. So, stay tuned for that. First up would be the Midwinter Murders by Agatha Christie. Collection of short stories. Perfect for this time of year. Not too cold-centric. I'm loving them. Works perfectly. So, I will finish that by the end of February. It's on my Kindle. And up next are two library books. First up would be The Enchanted Greenhouse by Sarah Beth Durst. This is cozy fantasy. It is a standalone, and it's under 400 pages. And next up would be The Busybody Book Club by Freya Sampson. And chances are really high this will be done before the first Monday in February. I love Freya Sampson's writing. I love every book I've read by her. This will be my third book. And I believe that just leaves me one unread book by her, which I will continue, which I will finish. Her writing is just beautiful. So, and this one is under 350 pages. And I've read the prologue and I can't stop thinking about it. So, that alone tells you something. So, I do have library books on hold that I am picking up today or tomorrow. So, all of those will undoubtedly show up here. And I have more library books in the pile to my left. So, let's talk about the physical books first. Hey, look, I pulled something from my shelf. This is Fanny Flagg. I Still Dream About You. This was a library bookshop find, and I will read you the back. Meet Maggie Fortenberry, a beautiful former Miss Alabama. To others, Maggie's life seems practically perfect. She's lovely, charming, and a successful agent at Red Mountain Realty. Still, Maggie can't help but wonder how she wound up living a life so different from the one she dreamed of as a child. Don't we all? But just when things seem completely hopeless, and the secrets of Maggie's past drive her to a radical plan to solve it all, Maggie discovers, quite by accident, that everybody, it seems, at least has one little secret. I Still Dream About You is a wonderful novel that is equal parts Southern charm, murder mystery, and that perfect combination of comedy and old-fashioned wisdom that can only be served up by America's own remarkable Fanny Flagg. Now, my last Fanny Flagg was not a roaring success. Don't know if it was my mood or the book, but this one's going to be a roaring success. It is 315 pages, and I cannot wait to dive in. Cannot wait to dive in. So, okay. Now there's a stack of library books over here, so let me grab them. Okay, so the stack of library books is a total of 2. I'll go over what's on hold for me here in a minute. Hi, Fireball. Hi, Fireball. What, you thought people missed you, so you thought you'd come say hi? I don't think anybody misses you that much. Yeah, I don't think so. Lay down. Okay, so first up would be Slow Horses by Nick Herron. This is the first book in the... Oh, what is the name of this series? I want to say Slow House. Yeah, Slow House series. This is espionage thriller. British. I'm definitely in the mood for this. Slow House is a dumping ground for British intelligence agents who've screwed up a case. Say by leaving a secret file on a train or blowing a surveillance. River Cartwright, one such slow horse, is bitter about his failure and his tedious assignment transcribing cell phone conversations. When a young man is abducted and his kidnappers threaten to broadcast his beheading live on the internet, River sees an opportunity to redeem himself, but is the victim who he first appears to be. What is the kidnapper's connection with the disgraced journalist? As the talk ticks on the execution, River finds that everyone has his own agenda. I need to know. I really need to know. Okay, and last up, currently in my possession. Yes, I know you're so in love, but nobody wants to listen to you pant. Nobody wants to listen to you pant. Okay, is my blind date with a book, and I'll insert the pictures of what it looked like when I picked it up. And I had a little conversation with my librarian. As I was checking out, because, so you know what a library, not kiosk, but you know, one of those four-sided circles book stands looks like, you know, usually where nude displays are. Stop. Nobody wants to listen to you pant. Shush, you're fine. So 3 of that, one of those displays was Blind Date with the Book books. And there were about, I don't know, 4 or 5 per shelf. And there's 3 shelves on a display. So, you know, a decent selection of books, right? I've had great, you know, I've had hit or miss luck, but it's always fun. It's a blind date with a book. What more could you want, right? Except this year, and they tag the genre. So, historical fiction, nonfiction, fantasy, etc. The overwhelming majority, like 85-90% of the books tagged, available when I last went into the library, were tagged LGBTQ+. There was almost nothing else on the shelves. So I grabbed one of the few ones that was not thusly tagged. So I had a conversation with my librarian. I'm like, y'all need to do a better job. There is a very poor selection of fiction on that shelf. And nonfiction that is straight. She's like, well, I apologize, but, you know, we try to pick books that are rarely checked out. I said, well, while that is an admirable thing, the fact that you have so many of that description that is unchecked out should also tell you that your readers are uninterested and you're buying too much of it. And she's like, well, I will submit your feedback. I'm like, thank you very much. So obviously I need to go to a couple of board meetings because it's gotten out of control. Okay. So what was my blind date with a book? And if I can still grab one when I go to the library today or tomorrow, I will grab another one. I got What We Tried to Bury Grows Here by Julian Zabalbuskoa. I am sure I butchered that. Here's what it looks like. It's, not very long. It's compact. It's by a publishing house I have never heard of. Here's what the review form looks like. So, there you go. And this is a Spanish Civil War historical fiction. And it is by $2 Radio Books. And the Library of Congress control number is not in this book. And I have never before seen that in a published book. There's what the publication page looks like. And it's published in the US, so it's completely unique. I will read you the description. In late 1936, 18-year-old Isidora Elajalat leaves his Basque village in northern Spain, spurred to join the fight to preserve his country's democracy from the insurrections by the rousing words of a political essayist. Months earlier, Spanish generals launched a military coup to overthrow Spain's newly elected left-wing government. They assumed the population would welcome the coup. But throughout the country, people like Isidoro remained loyal to the ideals of democracy, and the Spanish Civil War began in bloody earnest. In Bilbao, Mariana raises her 2 young children while, with her writing, she decries the fascist-backed coup attempt and their German and Italian allies, imploring the world to support democracy. As nationalist forces assault the country, Mariano and Isidoro's lives intersect fleetingly, yet in meaningful and lasting ways. Through a chorus of voices, a female soldier in an all-male battalion, a reluctant conscript recently emigrated from Cuba, a young girl whose parents have abandoned her in order to fight against the fascists, among others, we follow Isidora and Mariana as they struggle to maintain their humanity in a country determined to tear itself apart. So, it sounds very interesting. I have never heard of this book. I have never heard of the author. So I will see. I will say that the binding is high quality. The pages are deckled. And it's 276 pages. So it's not long. Time will tell. Okay. Those are my 2 current checkouts. So what's waiting for me at the library? So, I have 6 books waiting for me at the library. So, let's briefly go through them. First up would be of A Case of Mice and Murder by Sally Smith. I picked up the second book in this series because it was on the new display last time I was at the library, not realizing it was part of a series. Somehow my library got the first book in after the second book. So the second book has been returned. This is a Edwardian, I believe, mystery, which I am thoroughly looking forward to. I will read you the description. When Barrister Gabriel Ward steps out of his rooms at exactly 2 minutes to 7 on a sunny May morning in 1901, his mind is so full of his latest case, the disputed authorship of best-selling children's book Millie the Temple Church Mouse, that he scarcely registers the body of the Lord Chief Justice of England on his doorstep. Oops. But even he cannot fail to notice the judge's dusty bare feet, in shocking contrast to his flawless evening dress, nor the silver carving knife sticking out of his chest. In the shaded courtyards and the ancient buildings of the inner temple, the hidden heart of London's legal world, murder has spent centuries confined firmly to the casebooks, until now. The police can enter temple only by consent, so who better to investigate this tragic breach of law and order than a man who prizes both above all things? But murder doesn't answer to logic or reasoned argument, and Gabriel soon discovers that temple's heavy oak doors are hiding more surprising secrets than he ever imagined. Yeah, that is up my alley. Okay, up next is another mystery, another first in the series, another new to me author. That is If the Shoe Fits by Julie Murphy. And this is a contemporary romance, and it is the first book in the Meant to Be series. Do I know if I'm going to like it? I have no idea, but, it's worth a shot. If the shoe doesn't fit, maybe it's time to design your own. Cindy loves shoes. A well-placed bow or chic stack heel is her form of self-expression. As a fashion-obsessed, plus-size woman, she can never find designer clothes that work on her body. But a special pair of shoes always fits just right. Sorry, losing my voice. With a shiny new design degree but no job in sight, Cindy moves back in with her stepmother, Erica Tremaine, the executive producer of the world's biggest dating reality show. When a contestant on Before Midnight bows out at the last minute, Cindy is thrust into the spotlight. Showcasing her killer shoe collection on network TV seems like a great way to jumpstart her career. And while she's at it, why not go on a few lavish dates with eligible bachelor? But being the first and only fat contestant on Before Midnight turns her into a viral sensation and a body positivity icon overnight. Excuse me. Even harder to believe, she can actually see herself falling for this Prince Charming. To make it to the end, despite the fans, the haters, and a house full of fellow contestants she's not sure she can trust, Cindy will have to take a leap of faith and hope her heels and her heart don't break in the process. Yeah. It's worth trying. All right. Next up is a highly popular book. I know a bunch of you have read it. Thank you, Kahlua. You don't need to look at the screen. That is Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. And I've wanted to read this for a long time. Now it seems like a really great time, given that it's February for Taylor's readathon over at Tales and Treats with Tay. And apparently I'm going to get Kahlua. And this is definitely a fairy tale retelling, so it's perfect for Taylor's readathon. So I thought, why not? So this is the first in, I believe this is standalone? Kahlua, what are you doing? Hang on, dog issues. Yeah, I can't dissuade her from moving. So, okay. We're going to go with this as a standalone. And it's a Rumpelstiltskin retelling. Miriam is the daughter and granddaughter of moneylenders, but her father's inability to collect his debts has left his family on the edge of poverty, until Miriam takes matters into her own hands. Hardening her heart, the young woman sets out to claim what is owed and soon gains a reputation for being able to turn silver into gold. When an ill-advised boast draws the attention of the King of Stark, grim fey creatures who seem more ice than flesh, Miriam's fate and that of two kingdoms will be forever altered. She will face an impossible challenge along with two unlikely allies, uncover a secret that threatens to consume the lands of the humans and Stark alike. And it says it's 466 pages. So, I am willing to give it a go. Okay. And along the lines of fairy tale retellings, this isn't exactly a retelling, but it kind of fits the general theme. This is Letters to Zell by Camille Grip. It is 326 pages, and it's epistolary, so I really enjoyed epistolary in January. See if I can read some more epistolary in February, and I will read you the description. Everything is going according to the story for Cece, Cinderella, Bianca, Snow White, and Rory, Sleeping Beauty, until the day that Zell, Rapunzel, decides to leave Grimland and pursue her life. Now Zell's best friends are left to wonder whether their own passions are worth risking their predetermined happily ever afters, regardless of the consequences. Cece wonders whether she should become a professional chef. Sharp-tongued and quick-witted Bianca wants to escape the engagement to her platonic friend, and Rory will do anything to make her boorish husband love her. But as Bianca's wedding approaches, can they escape their fates? Is there enough wine in all of the realm to help them? In this hilarious modern interpretation of fairy tales we all know and love, Letters to Zell explores what happens when women abandon the stories they didn't write for themselves and go completely off script to follow their dreams. So it is worth trying. We shall see. We shall see. Okay. This is another cozy mystery and another new to me author. This is Come Hell or High Ball by Maya Chance. It is historical cozy, and I love the cover. 31-year-old society matron Lola Woodby has survived her loveless marriage with an unholy mix of highballs, detective novels, and chocolate layer cake, until her husband dies suddenly, leaving her his fortune. Or so Lola thought. As it turns out, all she inherits from Alfie is a big pile of debt. Pretty soon, Lola and her stalwart Swedish cook Berta are reduced to hiding out in the secret love nest Alfie kept in New York City. But when rent comes due, Lola and Berta have no choice but to accept an offer made by one of Alfie's girls on the side. In exchange for a handsome sum of money, the girl wants Lola to retrieve a mysterious reel of film for her. It sounds like an easy enough way to earn the rent money, but Lola and Berta realize they're in way over their heads when, before they can retrieve it, the man currently in possession of the film reel is murdered and the reel disappears. On a quest to retrieve the reel and solve the murder before the killer comes after them next, Lola and Berta find themselves navigating one wacky situation after another in high style and low company. It just sounds totally charming, and I see no reason to say no. Okay. And last up, currently on hold for me, is Half Sick of Shadows by Laura Sebastian. This is another new to me author. Another one that fits perfectly for Taylor's readathon. And this one was published in 2021. Okay. Everyone knows of the legend of Arthur, destined to be king, a beautiful Guinevere who will betray him with his mostly loyal knight Lancelot, of the bitter sorceress Morgana, who will turn against them all. But Elaine alone carries the burden of knowing what is to come, for Elaine of Shalott is cursed to see the future. of the mystical Isle of Avalon, Elaine runs free and learns of ancient prophecies surrounding her and her friends. Countless possibilities, almost all of them tragic. When their future comes to claim them, Elaine, Guinevere, Lancelot, and Morgana accompany Arthur to take his throne in stifling Camelot, where magic is outlawed, the rules of society chain them, and enemies are everywhere. Yet the most dangerous threats may come from within their own circle. As visions are fulfilled and an inevitable fate closes in, Elaine must decide how far she will go to change destiny and what she is willing to sacrifice along the way. It's 431 pages, and it is worth a try. So, we shall see if I get there. Okay, up next is, I have this on my Kindle. It's also available in my library, so I will read you the description from the library because my Kindle is having fits. That is Walking the Bible by Bruce S. Feiler. This is a journey by land through the 5 books of Moses. And since we are, I'm once again doing the Bible in a year with Father Mike, and we have begun the Moses journey. Now is a good time to pick this up and read along as we read those 5 books of the Bible. So this undoubtedly will not be finished in February, but it is a perfect time to start it. So it's 451 pages. It's been on my list for a very long time, so I'm going to start it in conjunction with Father Mike, and that is perfect. I'll read you the description. Both a heart-racing adventure and an uplifting quest. Walking the Bible presents one man's epic journey by foot, jeep, rowboat, and camel through the greatest stories ever told. From crossing the Red Sea to climbing Mount Sinai to touching the burning bush, Bruce Feiler's inspiring odyssey will forever change your view of history's most legendary events. The stories in the first 5 books of the Bible, known as the Torah, come alive as Feiler searches across 3 continents for the stories and heroes shared by Christians and Jews. You'll visit the slopes of Mount Ararat, where Noah's Ark landed. Trek to the desert outpost, where Abraham first heard the words of God. And scale the summit where Moses received the 10 Commandments. Using the latest archaeological research, Feiler explores how physical locations affect the larger narrative of the Bible, and ultimately realizes how much these places, as well as his experience, have affected his faith. A once-in-a-lifetime journey, Walking the Bible offers new insights into the roots of our common faith and uncovers fresh answers to the most profound questions of the human spirit. And this was published in 2001. So, I am very much looking forward to this. Just discovered he has another book. And that other book is entitled, that is not the book I clicked on, Abraham. And this was published in 2002. So, there you go. Okay. As of right now, that is everything that is picked or on hold for me at the library. I will say there are easily 7, 8 more books. Notice that the 3rd book of the Dungeon Crawler Carl is not there yet, so it's on hold. But that does, of course, not conclude my list of things for my pile of possibilities. Okay, so I'm not going to go in any of these in great detail, but looking through my Kindle, a bunch of books have caught my attention, and one or more of them I'm probably going to fit in. So, first up is The Library of Lost Love by Nori Clark. New to me author. Love the cover. It takes place in England. And in a quiet Notting Hill street, Joan sits alone with memories of the man she walked away from. Next up is the first book in the St. Felix series. This is The Little Flower Shop by the Sea by Ali McNamara. I recently picked up an Ali McNamara book at the library bookshop. And lo and behold, it was the second book in the St. Felix series. So obviously I had to pick up the first book. And it wasn't in the library. So I picked it up on Kindle. And I love the cover. It's 432 pages. Poppy Carmichael, 30, certainly never intended to own a florist. She never intended to own a florist. That is a very poorly worded sentence. It should say, Poppy Carmichael, 30, certainly never intended to own a flower shop. But when she inherits her grandmother's beloved flower shop on the beautiful Cornish coast, Poppy has no choice but to return to the pretty harbor town of St. Felix, where she spent much of her childhood. Returning to St. Felix brings back sad memories for Poppy. But when she makes new friends, such as local flower grower Jake, a young widowed father of 2 teenagers, Poppy begins to overcome her fears and discover for herself what's so special about this little flower shop by the sea. Yes, please. My reading expectations for myself are out of control this month. And like I said, this is a much, much pared down list. Okay, at a whopping 228 pages, this is Mr. Gardner and the Governess by Sally Britton. This is the first book in the Clareville Castle Romances series. And a Duke's Governess, a gentleman entomologist, and a castle full of flowers is the perfect setting for a summer romance. Okay, that's enough. This one has appeared on several Pile of Possibilities in the last year. This is My Kind of Happy by Kathy Brambley. It's 450 pages. And I love the cover. And I love the tagline for this book. I think flowers are sunshine for the soul. That pretty much fits me perfectly. And I am talking about this book in a different one, so I'm going to leave that one off. And last up for my Kindle is Starting Over in Sedona by Lynn Elves Spring. And this is the first book in the Sedona Silver Romances series. And it is 360 pages. And I will read you the back. Broke and lonely, a widow returns to claim her childhood homestead, only to find herself forced into partnership with a seductive land developer. Tired of grieving, Sue Weston is excited when her estranged sister promises to leave her the family homestead in Sedona, Arizona. Is this her chance to emerge from sorrow and start living again? Rafael Paliocos is the most successful property developer in Arizona. Has been promised the gift of a lifetime, a priceless red rock mesa with a killer view. He'll sell it to the highest bidder and finally buy himself the security he's been chasing all his life. When Sue and Raphael meet, they're horrified to discover they're to inherit the land jointly. Now they're pitted against each other, even as they resist the greatest love of their lives. Okay, that is definitely on my radar. So, okay. Let's make sure the other book is here. It is not, but I will talk about it now. Okay. I thought this was going to appear someplace else, but it's not. That is The Bromance Book Club by Lyssa K. Adams. This is the first book in the Bromance Book Club series. It's 352 pages. I've heard nothing but rave reviews about this book, and I am so intrigued. The first rule of book club: you don't talk about book club. Nashville legend second baseman Gavin Scott's marriage is in major league trouble. He's recently discovered a humiliating secret. His wife, Taya, has always faked the big O. Excuse me. When he loses his cool at the revelation, it's the final straw on their already strained relationship. Thea asks for a divorce, and Gavin realizes he's let his pride and fear get the better of him. Welcome to the Bromance Book Club. Distraught and desperate, Gavin finds help from an unlikely source. A secret romance book club made up of Nashville's top alpha men. With the help of their current read, a steamy regency titled Courting the Countess, the guys coach Gavin on saving his marriage. But it'll take a lot more than flowery words and grand gestures for this hapless Romeo to find his inner hero and win back the trust of his wife. Okay. Yeah, I am all for that. So, those are the Kindle possibilities. See what I say when it's just out of control, and there's still a couple more sitting over here. So, let's grab those. She's just out of frame, but Kahlua is asleep on my lap. Passed out asleep. Okay. So, in my lap, there are 2, 4... If I do nothing else all month, I might finish some of these books. Okay. First up is A Garden Catechism, 100 Plants in Christian Tradition and How to Grow Them by Margaret Rose Reilly. And I have started planning the garden for 2026. I need to do it a little more intentionally this year. Glad I hadn't started ahead of time because, well, the cold snap would have ruined all of that planning. But this is a very good tool for, especially if you want to plant a prayer garden. The illustrations are lovely. It talks about planting. Here, let me grab just. All right. Here. No. Let me grab one for okay, St. John's wort. Here's the 2 pages. They all have 2 pages. And on the left page, or the right-hand page, there is a legend for each plant. And that legend tells you, the legend is described up front in the book, if it is a prayer garden symbol key or a landscape symbol key. So a prayer garden symbol key is, there are 6 choices. Jesus, the Sacred Heart, Divine Mercy, and Stations of the Cross is first. Second would be the Holy Spirit, Fruits of Vengeance and Virtues. I'm sorry, Fruits of Spirit and Virtues. Third choice is Marian, the Immaculate Heart and Rosary. Fourth choice is the Bible. Fifth is Saints and Saint Joseph. And the 6th choice is Angels. She's snoring, I'm sorry. And then the landscape key has 13 choices. It talks about if it's black walnut tolerant, drought tolerant, full or part shade, full or part, no, it doesn't talk about sun. Fragrant, cut flowers, deer resistant, you know, all the things you want to know about a garden. So, yeah, she's very asleep. I am going to use this book when I plant the garden here in the next couple of weeks and get seeds started. You gonna wake up, sleepyhead? No, ma'am. Okay. And the remaining books are all a unique mix. No one's surprised. This is The Space Between Worlds by Micaiah Johnson. New to me author. This was part of my birthday haul this year. This is science fiction. I think it sounds intriguing. We will see how much nonsense is in here. It was published in 2020 and is 323 pages. So I will read you a little bit. An outsider can travel between worlds, discovers a secret that threatens her new home and her fragile place in it. In a stunning sci-fi debut that's both a cross-dimensional adventure and a powerful examination of identity, privilege, and belonging. So we're great up until those last 3 words. Multiverse travel is finally possible, but there's just one catch. No one can visit a world where their counterpart is still alive. Enter Kara, whose parallel selves happen to be exceptionally good at dying. From disease, turf wars, or vendettas they couldn't outrun. Kara's life has been cut short on 372 worlds in total. I told you, she was really asleep. On this Earth, however, Kara has survived. Identified as an outlier and therefore a perfect candidate for multiverse travel, Kara is plucked from the dirt of the wastelands. Now she has a nice apartment on the lower levels of the wealthy and walled-off Wily city. She works and shamelessly flirts with her enticing yet aloof handler Dell, as the two women collect off-world data for the Elridge Institute. She even occasionally leaves the city to visit her family in the Wastes, though she struggles to feel at home in either place. So long as she can keep her head down and avoid trouble, Kara is on a sure path to citizenship and security. But trouble finds Kara when one of her 8 remaining doppelgangers dies under mysterious circumstances, plunging her into a new world with an old secret. What she discovers will connect her past and her future in ways she could never have imagined, and reveal her own role in a plot that endangers not just her world, but the entire multiverse. I think it sounds intriguing. I'm hoping it is not unreadable. Okay, up next is a Goodreads win. I talk about this in the anticipated releases for February. And that is This Book Made Me Think of You by Libby Page. Again, I love this cover. It releases February 3rd. And it is 403 pages. But that's relatively big print, by the way, so I think in regular print it wouldn't be that long, and it's partially epistolary. I'm not going to talk about it in detail because I do talk about it in detail in the anticipated releases video, which I will link down below. Okay. Up next is the other nonfiction on this list. That is The Nicene Creed by Jared Ortiz and Daniel A. Keating. And yes, this is Rhonda's husband. I will read you... There is no description. Title is description enough. A scriptural, historical, and theological commentary. It is published by Baker Academic. Alright. I'll read you one of the blurbs on the back. An extremely well thought out introduction to the Nicene Creed. This book connects the creed to both testaments, church history, and the words of church fathers. the Catechism of the Catholic Church, and Prayers of the Church in a way that not only teaches, but also deepens faith. And that is by Jonathan J. Reyes, Knights of Columbus. So, I am looking forward to this. And it's not long. Not counting the glossaries and the appendixes, it is 210 pages. And there is no push to finish this in 1 month. I'm going to take my time and enjoy that one immensely. Okay, last two. First up would be A Canticle for Leibowitz by Walter M. Miller Jr. I know I've talked about this book recently, so I'm not going to read the back. But it is science fiction, and I've heard nothing but praise for this book. I've heard it's funny. I've heard it's moving. I need to know. I need to know. Okay. And last of the physical books sitting here. And this is very, very high on my list. This is The Good Wife of Bath by Karen Brooks. This was a birthday gift last year from Lauren over at Intuitive Reading. So I will link Lauren's channel down below. And as you might imagine, it's a retelling of The Good Wife of Bath. In the Middle Ages, a famous poet told a story that mocked a strong woman. It became a literary classic. But what if the woman told her own version of the story? England, 1364, when married off at age 12 to an elderly farmer, brazen, red-headed Eleanor quickly realizes it won't matter what she says or does. God is not on her side. Or any poor woman's for that matter. But then again, Eleanor was born under the joint signs of Venus and Mars, making her both a lover and a fighter. Aided by a head for business and a surprisingly kind husband, Eleanor manages to turn her first marriage into a success, and she rises through society from a cast-off farm girl to a woman of fortune who becomes a trusted friend of the social climbing poet Geoffrey Chaucer. But more marriages follow. Some happy, some not. Several pilgrimage, numerous lovers, murder, mayhem, and many turns of fortune's wheel as Eleanor pursues the one thing that all women want: control over their own lives. This is so very, very, very high on my list. Okay. Thus concludes February's ridiculous pile of possibilities that I am so excited to dive into any one of those books. I'm pleased to sponge. So hopefully your February pile is a little more sane than mine, but equally as enjoyable. Let me know in the comments down below, like and subscribe, and I will see you here next time. Not the protagonist pup.